No, I want like I think my goal is for like people to be like locked in listening, and then like once it's over, be like, wait, what did they even say? You know
And
what
that
I mean?
was and that was a perfect intro, and now we're using that. And we're off. And
And
we're
we're
off on the
off.
bus. Salt and pepper. Back to just
Yeah,
salt and pepper.
Black Lightning and La Flama Blanca.
A lot of nicknames. A lot of nicknames. Ultimately, Bennett Perry, David Washington. No guest. I do like having the guest, but I also like when it's just us. And it's just salt and pepper. And it's
Yeah,
just, you know.
I think I like we talked about this. I think like it'd be like guest heavy, but then like sprinkle in salt and pepper
Right.
on occasion.
Speaking of,
Um,
if you're watching on the video and you just saw David's hand, it looks like you have a finger injury.
yeah, I gotta. I've been down for a couple days. Yeah, some inflammation.
Okay.
I
When did
think
this
that's
happen? Why don't you walk us through when that happened and what happened? I don't think I know what happened. I know you told me you were
no.
hurt, but
Oh yeah. Just I don't know. I think it was just it wasn't like a sudden injury. Like I didn't.
okay.
It was just like my fingers had been bothering me for
Okay.
like maybe like a week or so, and then like one game I had to pull myself, which I don't like pulling myself. I think it's the first time. I think
Yeah.
it's I think this is the first time I've taken myself out of a game. Um, yeah, tough spot.
It's a very tough spot. It is not a fun place to be. And I don't know if you feel
Yeah.
the same way, but I can think of one when I tore my labrum when I needed to. And I think when I pulled my groin, I needed to. And in both cases, I remember thinking, like, how is it not obvious to everyone what's going on right now? Like, come get me so I don't have to be the one to, like, pull myself out type of thing.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they never did. So it's like, well, now I have to be the one that goes to them and pull myself out.
It's yeah. It is not something I wish on anybody.
Yeah, I remember when I
That
tore my
place.
labrum. When I tore my labrum, like I tried to finish the batter and like three straight pitches like to the backstop. Like I couldn't even like throw it. And I remember
Yeah.
thinking like, oh, my coach is going to come out. Like, what's wrong? And he's like, all right, come on, let's go get a ground ball. Like, I was like, no, come out here. Like,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
wrong? I was like, I can't feel my arm. So
I
you
can't
watch
imagine.
it.
Yeah, I can't imagine having to do that like on the mound. That's crazy.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then he
that's
did kind
brutal.
of give me, because this is in college, and not trying to shit on this coach, because I kind of liked him, but like he did give me the like, well, are you okay? Like, are you able to keep going? Like after I'd explained what I was going through, where clearly something was wrong, and then like
Yeah.
I had to be the one to be like, no, I can't keep going. I
Yeah.
was always kind of like, why'd you put me in that position?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's I mean like you're never like I realize that for whatever reason we're like conditioned to not do that.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I remember like not about me, like our manager was like talking about was talking to the trainer about one of the guys who was like banged up on our team. It was like, listen, like I know what he's gonna say, but we have to be the ones that he's gonna say he's good, he's not good.
Right.
We have to look out for him. Like that kind of thing. And like I remember thinking about that as like, yeah, that's how the player is supposed to think. The player is supposed to be like, yeah, I can go until someone doesn't let me.
Yeah. And I would
So it's like,
argue,
yeah,
that's a huge part of being a good coach and a good manager is protecting your guys and knowing that. I know and I bring him up a lot, but as a 49ers fan, Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, was talking because their best player, George Kittle, was hurt last year, and he's a very physical, tough guy. And they would always ask him in his interviews, like, "Oh, when are you gonna be back?" He's like, "Oh, I'll be back next week." And then Kyle Shanahan would go, he's like, "No, he's not playing. Like, we have to. I know what George wants to do, and George is a
right,
tough guy. It's on us to protect him and to put him in a good position because I know that the player in him, the competitor in him, they always want to go, and it's on us to make sure that we're protecting them, and the medical professionals are protecting them and whatnot. So I would argue that's a huge part of being a good coach is like understanding, that the player is kind of wired to always want to keep playing, and it's on you
right,
And that's why it kind of bothers me when I see coaches, they don't do that. They go the other way. Like, they try to almost pressure you into playing through something and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and like, listen,
I've seen that. Everybody's seen that thing. It's
right.
ugly.
And it's a fine line because everyone plays through, little things here or there, what you want to call them, injuries, just being hurt, like toughing it out. Like, that is part of it. But you bring it up a lot. We talk about it a lot, like the difference of being hurt and being injured, right?
Right.
Did I have that right?
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. It's like a lot of guys play. There's a difference between playing hurt, which everyone kind of has to do, and then when there's a difference of when you're actually injured. It's like, yeah this is a problem. This is going to get worse and worse. Everyone's human.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it with your labrum, like when you threw the ball and you're like, I can't throw it the way I'm supposed to, right? It's like that's kind of like that's when you realize I got pulled when I had a fracture, like on my whatever. I had like a stress fracture. It had like evolved into that, so I didn't know right away. And like, it was like I couldn't get to the spot to like be the cutoff man. And it was like that's when you kind of realize like, okay, this is actually stopping me from doing what I need to do. Like it's not a matter of just some discomfort.
Right.
But
like I was injured when I tore my labrum, and I was injured when I pulled my groin, but I was hurt when I pulled my hamstring racing Daniel Fields, and I had to play through that.
Right, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Yeah,
that's the difference.
Because like outside of covering first, you could still do most of the stuff that
and it all hurt, but I could do it, and I couldn't let that be the reason why I wasn't pitching anymore.
That's all.
Thing.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. If you get hurt doing something like kind of embarrassing, it's like you have to play through it. You can't. That can't be the reason why you don't play.
Right.
I know we both subscribe to that belief.
Yeah,
some people
absolutely.
don't, but
no. Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, so talk me through the obviously you're not happy that you're not playing as any athlete would be, but what that experience is like, because position players rarely get that. Obviously, as a pitcher, I know what it's like to just kind of chill and watch games. But as a position player, what's that like? Living the life of a starter in between his starts.
It is a living hell. I haven't even made it to like day 4 yet. Like I'm not even, because like I would make the argument that like the difference between being a starter is like you do have a day where you play and it's right. and you play this huge role and it's exhausting, and the next 4 days are usually spent getting ready for the 5th day. I haven't even gotten to the point where like it's like day 3 now, or day 4, I think, and it's just I lose it just every. It's not my first. That's the crazy thing. It's not my first time. You would think I would know how to navigate these situations by now, but it's the same thing every single game. I like tell myself, okay, like kind of check out in the first couple innings because it gets mentally exhausting to sit there and watch the game. But sure enough, like pitch 1, I'm watching the game, and then by like the 7th, I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, so I'm going to help you out with that. We're going to talk through this, and I'm going to help you as an expert of how to do this. I'm going to try to give you some tips.
All right, what do you got? Bennett Perry's tips for sitting the bench.
Bennett Perry's tips for being able to kill time through a baseball game.
right in the bench with Bennett Perry.
All right, so first things first, we'll start. What time do you get to the game? Like how?
Okay, so I've been getting better. So like game time is 6:35.
Okay.
If I'm starting, I'm usually out there around 6:15, 6:20ish.
Okay.
I think the first couple of days I was out there around like 6:25ish, and then like yesterday I think I was strolling out there around 6:32.
Okay.
But it's tough. So the thing is, here at home, our clubhouse is like off in the distance behind center field.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a stroll from walking out of the clubhouse to the dugout. So you have to account for that.
Okay, yeah, getting out there 10 minutes before a game is way too early.
Okay.
Your sweet spot's in that 5 to 3 minute range. It obviously changed. It's a lot easier in places where the clubhouse is kind of connected to the dugout, where you can get there. The ones out in the outfield are tough because it also brings up a tougher part later in my tips. So 2, I'd be. What is your vice? Do you go sunflower seeds, gum? Do you have any type of like snack or something to kind of keep?
It's tough here. Actually, so the Franklin Field is a sunflower seed free facility, right?
Okay.
But I think they tolerate it if you keep it in the dugouts.
Okay.
But they get very upset when you spit them on the field.
Okay. So they have no interest in being an actual baseball field then, where you spit sunflower seeds, because it's part of the fucking game. I don't understand these fields. You can't spit.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking that hard of a stance on it, so I don't have to.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
No,
big
right?
sign. No sunflower seeds. Like
no sunflower seeds on a baseball field. Yeah.
All right, then why even put the bases out? You know,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but you could spin them in the dugout if you wanted to.
Yeah, so you did, but I just have to be mindful to not like go and I did that like game 1. Like someone was like, "Hey guys, just make sure if you're eating sunflower seeds, don't spit them on the field." They got mad at us, and like inning 3, I was like up there on the railing just creating a little pile on the field in front of me.
Nice. You're gonna want to make sure you have your own bag. You want to be the one with the sunflower seeds. You don't want to be the one asking other people all the time for sunflower seeds.
Correct.
You want to be the one in control of the sunflower seeds.
Okay.
Third tip would be, it's tougher for position players because if your buddies are position players, they're playing. So you can't, where it's like the starters you get with the other starters and you kind of, maybe play a game or you talk about, just some nonsense for a couple innings. The most important part is timing your trips to the clubhouse, which sounds like it's difficult in Milwaukee.
Yes. People do it. It's a small bathroom in the dugout. So like the pitchers, some of the guys who are down, definitely the starters will make trips up, but it's not. It's not something that you can just like pop up there and pop back in the same inning, because they have to open the gate for you in center field and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does present a challenge. And you really don't. When you have a situation like that, it really makes you appreciate the times that like your clubhouse was connected to your dugout.
Right. You're definitely gonna want to take at least one trip a game. And you might want to take it in like the 5th inning to split up the game a little bit.
Just split up the game, yeah.
And stay for at least a half inning. Like just kind of just kind of get away. If you can pull a whole inning, pull a whole inning. You're not experienced yet. If you get to a point where you can pull 2 innings, then we're talking here. But that's an expert level. I won't get into that. The other important thing I will say is, I don't know how you are, but I would always go. I kind of only mentally lock in when we were hitting. So like I'm on the bench chilling when we're pitching. I'm obviously watching the pitcher and whatnot, and I know it's tough because I probably should be like scouting the hitters and I'm watching, but that's kind of when I'm almost, I feel like, joking around with some of the guys. Like I feel like in general when we're pitching, everyone's kind of sitting, and so I take that time to kind of mentally unwind, and then like when we're hitting, I'll be up on the railing, and you kind of
when we're in the field, and like you can you can be a little bit more like checked out,
right?
Like you can be more outwardly checked out because like you're not like annoying the people that are actually playing because they're in the field. Like when it's like annoying like when you're like actually playing and you're like in the dugout and guys are just like fucking around. You're like, maybe you just had a bad at bat, or you're trying to lock in for your next at bat. You're like, hey, we get it, you're not playing.
Right.
So the time for that would probably be when the good guys are on defense.
Right. And then I would say, I would usually do that, and then like 7th inning on, I'm kind of locked into the rest of the game, to the whole game.
Yeah.
And
it's Yeah, it's just like the early checkout
Right.
for me.
What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of get tight with like one of the pitchers, and or some of the pitchers, and kind of you definitely want to like have someone to like talk to, and like joke around with, kind of like be a part of what's going on. Because if you're just sitting there by yourself, it does make it go a lot longer. Like those games when I was in Taiwan, when I would just sit there and not be able to talk to anyone, they went a lot longer than games where you could talk with your buddies and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I didn't have a lot of downtime when I was in Mexico. They probably would have gotten me out of there a lot quicker.
Yes, they would have. And those for the most part, those are my tips for killing time on the bench.
Nice, and that's Riding the Bench with Ben and Perry.
Riding the Bench with Ben and Perry, new segment.
Dude, we talked about maybe doing that, having a starter mic'd up for the like during the game. Call it Riding the Bench.
Yeah. Well, like during the game when they're pitching, or during the game when they're not pitching?
When they're not pitching.
I don't know if the people are ready for that.
It's crazy. Like, I want to say this the right way. It's crazy how much like we love baseball,
right,
but then also just can't stand it.
Yeah. I just think, because, especially when you're in a position when the majority of the season and the time you're not even playing. Like you're a starter on the team, you're an integral part of the team, but the majority of the season is you're not even playing. So
you're chilling, yeah.
Yeah, it makes you definitely view baseball a lot differently. I mean, I know I've told you, like growing up, like I would watch like 2 games a day. Like when I came home from the school, I'd watch an East Coast game that would start at 4:00 our time on the West Coast, and I'd watch maybe like the Padre game or a West Coast game, and I was just obsessed with baseball.
Yeah.
And then you start getting into where you're watching a game every day, like in pro ball, and it changes the way, like that setting, and it changes the way I feel like you watch the game. Yeah,
well, for me, like it's because I really enjoy playing it. But like the same games, like I support my guys, all that stuff. Like I love obviously more on the hitting side. I'm not a pitcher, but like I do really enjoy watching like my teammates at bats and like seeing them compete in that part. But as far as just like enjoying baseball, like I'm looking at the crowd and I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
That might just be a Milwaukee thing.
No. Yeah, we got great people out here. We got great people out here in Milwaukee. I
struggle with that
something
early.
about just sitting there.
I struggle with that early in my career of like, why are you people here? Like,
yeah.
Like the allure of going to like a minor league game or like an indie ball game didn't make any sense to me.
Mm.
I know it sounds fucked up because it's what I do, and then obviously as I got older, but early on I was like, some of these people, I was like, yeah, why are you like? It was mostly when we would go to the places where it was like not a great place and there was like nobody there, but there was like 10 people there.
Yeah.
Like, why did
you're looking at
10?
those? Yeah.
What's going on in your people's life? Like when you go to these places and it's packed, I understand it, right? It's fireworks night or it's $2 beer night or something like that.
Right.
Or, it's just a good baseball town. But in the places you would go where clearly nobody cares except for these like 10 people. Yeah, I was always like, what? Yeah. I want to know your guys' story. Like, what led you here?
I love that. That's
I appreciate
that's
the
a
support,
strategy.
Though. I appreciate
right,
the
exactly. But that's a strategy I had forgot about. That was like I think that has helped. Like sitting the bench was like trying to make backstories for some of the people you see in the crowd.
I love that. Yeah, that'll be a good one. That'll definitely get you through some time. That'll have some time right there.
That's a conversation.
Other people into it? Do you bring other people into it?
Obviously, yeah. I'm not gonna sit there and talk to myself. It'll just be.
I don't know about talk to yourself. I'm not saying sometimes I'll just like think things to myself.
No, for sure. No. Yeah, you have somebody else on the bench. Like, what do you think this guy's story is?
Right.
Where's he at in his life? Yeah.
Those are fun games to play. All right. So what's the timetable for your recovery? Or do you?
I don't know, honestly. I honestly don't know. We're kind of we're not transitioning. the plan right now is kind of like when the swelling goes down, it should feel better. The swelling is kind of still here, so yeah, kind of just feeling things out at this point.
The other part about being hurt is like the monotonous time you have to spend in the training room, like
Yes.
getting right.
Dude,
That part's especially with something like that where it's like it's clearly a big deal, but like you talk about a finger or something like that where like it almost doesn't feel like it should be that big of a deal, and you're just kind of like I'm assuming like doing the same. You're contrasting or you're icing or whatnot,
Dude.
but it's just like on the clock, like you have to do it like every.
it's
So
I have my
you
little
gotta get here early to ice your finger, type of
right,
thing, like,
right. No, like I'm sitting in the trailer. Guys are getting stretched. Guys are in the tub, like taping tape, whatever. Cupping all the cool stuff, and I'm like here, like yeah, my finger hurts.
My finger hurts.
Finger hurts,
Well, your back's gonna hurt.
Yeah, dude, I have one exercise where it's like I lay my hand flat on the table, like say this one, and it's just like the exercise is to bend this finger without moving the other ones,
Yeah,
and it's like yeah, like 3 sets of 10.
yeah,
Hey, can you I need the table really quick.
Yeah,
I gotta bang this out.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
It is tough.
finger rehab. Like, it's you want something that seems like you would get like a motivational video around it,
Right.
right? Like when you're
but like no exercises, I feel like when you come back from like little injuries are that. It always feels like you're doing the most basic thing of something you obviously know how to do,
yeah,
and I feel like it makes you feel like an idiot.
it does. There's one. I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's one where it's literally like testing range of motion by like trying to like dial numbers on a phone with just like.
That's hilarious.
But
I'm sure it helps.
I'm sure it does. No, it's yeah, but it doesn't feel.
Right.
It doesn't feel. What's the word I'm looking for?
Powerful doesn't feel motivational.
Yeah,
Inspiring.
yeah. Substantial or
Okay.
just
Yeah,
like
yeah. I know what you're saying,
I don't feel like I'm making a huge contribution to the squad while I'm doing it.
and you're not.
I'm not.
No one's going to
Right.
tell you that but me. They're all going to tell you you're helping out, David. You're helping us right now. I'm going to tell you right now, they've forgotten about you.
Absolutely.
Because, as you like to say, the game moves on.
The game does not stop.
The game does not stop for anybody.
That's the toughest part. Is game's still moving.
Yeah,
Guys are still getting at bats.
absolutely. How are the Milwaukee Milkmen doing?
We're grinding. We're grinding. We're in a nice little homestand here. We are currently 1-1 in our first series against the Kansas City Monarchs.
Fuck them.
Yeah, Ben is not a huge fan of the Kansas City Monarchs.
I just don't like lying pieces of shit. I think everyone can relate to that. Like, everyone doesn't like lying pieces of shit, right? Like,
Yeah, but also everybody just kind of says shit too. So
right. That's fair. I'm going to give no context to this either, by the way.
we shouldn't. I don't think we should. People should just know that these random pockets of hatred exist in all of us.
Right. There's a good reason for it. 1-1 versus the Kansas City Monarchs.
Yeah, seems like a really good team. Yeah, some good arms they've thrown at us. It's. Let's see. I think we won the series before that against the Kane County Cougars. We had actually been kind of struggling at home, weirdly enough. So
Your clubhouse is in center field.
Hey, we're racking our brains trying to figure out what it is. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm telling you, there's a correlation between good teams that and bad teams. Good teams have clubhouses connected to the dugouts. Bad teams have clubhouses in the outfield. It's not my thing. It's science. It's not my thing. That's just factual. That's how it works.
No, I believe you.
Can I transition a little bit just because I do want to talk a little bit about basketball because the NBA playoffs are going on. And I saw something recently with some. Basically, people were talking about how like the teams that are left are bad for the NBA type of thing because it's like not big market teams or whatnot. Right. And I personally hate that. And I didn't know kind of how you felt, but like they're saying Atlanta being in it, Milwaukee being in it. Also, Milwaukee's a great place, but not a big market team.
Right.
Clippers obviously big with them, and then Phoenix, like people are like, oh, it's bad for the NBA because LeBron's out of it and Steph's out of it, and now KD and Brooklyn's out of it. And I just kind of wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, it's just how you look at it. For me, I guess. Right. Well, if you just like basketball and like competition, then it's great to see, I guess, unfamiliar faces, if you will, and at this stage. But yeah, if what you care about is like ratings and stuff, it's not as good for the game. Right.
I do think it's weird, like how many fans will like. Or I don't want to say how many. I just see it a little bit like on Twitter and stuff like that. But yeah, fans talking about how it's not good for the NBA because of like the ratings. I'm like, why do you care about that? Like, I don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What does that do for you?
Yeah, I think you'd want to watch good basketball. But I would think your point would be ultimately. I think if it was like Atlanta versus Phoenix, which I'm not saying it's going to be, but like hypothetically, and like Devin Booker and Trae Young formed like this rivalry of like. The next big superstars as young as they are, I'd be like, that's great for the NBA. Like, I don't care where they play, but just like, the fact that there's kind of, you had said it when the playoffs started, kind of about how like this seemed to be feeling like the start of kind of the new age of superstars taking over. And I would say, that going all the way to the end, I would think that would be good for the NBA.
Yeah, that's a great take on it. I like that take. Yeah, I'm all for guys that are, these guys that are really good, that are underappreciated, like Devin Booker, kind of getting onto the big stage and having a chance to show people that, guy gets buckets. I
mean, he's always got buckets. Nobody doubted the fact that he couldn't get buckets.
But nobody saw it. Like, I didn't see it for a minute.
Right.
It's like, just because, I just never saw the Suns play. And
they were really bad while he was getting buckets.
Yeah, but I guess from the perspective of the more of these teams that do well and go far, the less concentrated all the attention is. It's not just like LA and New York. It's like, no, there's really good basketball everywhere.
Right.
And I guess if you're talking about growing the game, that's probably more beneficial than a huge superstar matchup of all the people that are already watching anyway.
Yeah, I've always kind of felt basketball was really like a player-driven league where it didn't really matter where the guys were. I mean, for a long time, Cleveland, when LeBron was there, that was the hottest ticket in the NBA. Cleveland's not a big market team. I mean, even Milwaukee with Giannis there, with Giannis winning MVPs, I always thought small market teams could overcome that kind of that stigma, whatnot. If you had superstar players or a superstar players, people wanted to see those guys play. It didn't matter where you played.
But I think I think Cleveland with LeBron kind of stands alone in that, right?
I feel like Giannis with Milwaukee. I mean, they were getting primetime, Christmas Day games and stuff when he was back-to-back MVP. I mean, it's
that's fair.
A legitimate guy. I mean,
yeah. But as far as I don't know. As far as I just remember that whole piece about what LeBron did for Cleveland's economy,
right,
when he was there. It's I don't know if Giannis is matching that in Milwaukee.
You're right. I don't know that. I'm talking.
Also, I don't know if Milwaukee's economy needs as much of a boost as.
Right. You don't have to Cleveland's keep sticking up for Milwaukee. We get it. Okay. I was just talking more about the fan intrigue is that I don't think there's as much in I think just in general, I think we're seeing with sports, with social media and with like how you can kind of follow everyone and with like fantasy and stuff like that. Like if you're good, like people are going to find you and people are going to watch you. Yeah. And it's not as much as I feel like it used to be, where it's like you had to be in LA or New York or Texas or something like that, Miami maybe, for like people to know you. It's like, yeah, if you're a star and you're winning MVPs every year, or being a MVP candidate, or you're the best team in basketball, you're the most, because that's the other thing with like the Suns and the Hawks, like they're both exciting teams to watch. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I feel like, let's say it was, I don't think it's going to be that, but let's say it was that, I think Milwaukee is probably going to beat the Hawks. But even if it's Milwaukee, I was watching the Suns game. And I was thinking, like, ultimately, I don't know how Phoenix does in ratings or whatnot. Like, this is an exciting team to watch, like the way they play. Right. Like, this would be a team, if I was the NBA, no, I'm happy that this team is now one of the good teams.
Yeah, from a basketball standpoint, like it's good for, like, yeah, it's not a team where you're like, I hate watching this team and they're in the finals, so I'm not going to watch it. It's like, no, I want to see what they do.
Right.
Yeah,
they're fun.
That series. Yeah.
There's a lot of like fiery personalities on that team. There's a lot of, they play hard. They're exciting. They have a fun kind of offense. It's not. I mean, Devin Booker obviously is the main attraction, and part of it is because Chris Paul has been out for a little bit. But when everything's going, like it's kind of a fun moving offense. Everyone kind of gets theirs. Jay Crowder gets his. I don't know if it's Michael or Mikal Bridges, but I've always been a fan of his. He gets his, and then you have DeAndre Ayton. Like it's a collection of really good players and guys off the bench. So I don't know. I just kind of, when I saw that and people being like, "Oh, this is terrible for the league that Phoenix might beat the Clippers," and who knows what happens in that series by the time this episode comes out. Maybe the Clippers are back in it. But I push back on the fact that it'd be better for the league that LA, and I know ratings wise maybe it would be or whatnot, but I think if you're a fan of basketball, I personally would rather see Phoenix in it because I think Phoenix is a better team, and I think they're more enjoyable to watch.
Right. And it's weird, like you said, when fans kind of like align themselves in a way that doesn't benefit them.
Right. Yeah.
It's weird how that happens.
I think that's my pick, and by the time I say this, I'm sure it'll be another freezing cold takes, but I'm going Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns are taking it all.
Phoenix Suns are taking it all.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've seen enough. Also, provided hopefully at some point, Chris Paul can come back, and I don't know how that all works. He's in like the protocol. I think he's supposed to come back. Maybe by the time this comes out, he'll already be back. Okay. It's a problem when we do these like days in advance. Because who knows what happens the next couple days. But yeah, I think they're the best team standing. I still stand by, had Kyrie not gotten hurt and Harden not gotten hurt, the Nets were going to take it all. But obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah. And how do you feel about like the rash of big injuries and players missing in this year's playoffs?
I know LeBron had a strong stance on that, where he said he predicted this from how quickly they started the season after the last season ended, and he thought this was going to be that. I'm not a doctor. I can't go into that. It's obviously not good. It's not good for any league anytime your stars are getting hurt. I mean, the goal is that regardless of who wins or loses, you have all the best players out there. So yeah, it's not good. I don't know if the reason because that's the scheduling or whatnot. I feel like, maybe there's more than usual, but there's been injuries that impact a lot of series. I feel like my entire life, like watching basketball or any sport, or maybe specifically, I can go back every year and be like, yeah, this team they got injury lucky. I know that was a thing. The Warriors were the best team in basketball, but they got a little injury lucky. Like they never got hurt, and then some of the teams they played the Spurs and then Kawhi got hurt. And
Kawhi got hurt that series, yeah.
Right. So I'm just saying. And then they played the Cavs when Kyrie got hurt with Cleveland, and I think maybe Kevin Love did too. And I think that's always kind of been a part of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it sucks for the fans because you want to see everyone at full strength. So it's not good. But I don't know if it's. I'm not as in.
Like it's not
obviously.
It's not really something special per se.
Well, specifically to Kyrie, Kyrie sprained his ankle going up for a shot or a rebound. He came on the side of someone's foot. That's been happening in basketball. If you play basketball long enough, that happens to you.
Yeah.
So
the crazy thing to me about injuries, and I believe this more and more, is this like, yeah, they're all like, we talk about like freak injuries, and and everyone goes like, oh yeah, it's a freak injury, you can't do anything about that. But it's like, for whatever reason, like when guys are healthy, in good shape, with enough rest, and all that, those freak things just don't happen.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
No, that's definitely, yeah, definitely. That's definitely part of it.
I mean, I'm not saying that to like. I think you're right. Like, it's always been a part of sports, always will be a part of sports. Whether or not there was an increased chance for it this year is kind of irrelevant, because it's something some or all teams have to deal with every year.
Yeah, I'm more likely to be like the guys like a James Harden who like pulled his hamstring, and like those types of injuries,
right.
Like soft tissue injuries, like pulls and stuff like that. That's where I'm more likely to be like, yeah, I'm not saying that's the reason why, but yeah, that lack of rest or lack of recovery or whatnot can definitely. But yeah, spraining your ankle because you came down someone's foot in basketball, or Chris Paul hurting his shoulder because he got his arm locked in a screen or whatnot. I'm like, yeah, that stuff just happens sometimes. There's not really a way to prevent that.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if I can't speak on LeBron's point of if that's the reason why. All I know is it sucks. I mean, ultimately, it's not.
It's tough tickets.
It doesn't suck for the Milwaukee Bucks, but it sucks for the fans of basketball that don't care who wins and who loses.
Right. Let's see. What's something else I saw that would be funny? How do you feel about the guys getting strip searched on the coming off the bump these days?
Are we just gonna do it where every episode for the next year is that we talk about the sticky substances in baseball?
I don't want to talk. I don't necessarily care about the sticky substances at this point. Right. I think the story is now like
the checking of
the checking. Specifically, like, I think like, okay, there's the Romo one, which was hilarious.
Right.
But like
I saw the Max Scherzer one. Okay,
the Scherzer one is interesting.
Okay, so I'll tell you. Obviously, if you know me, I'm a huge Max Scherzer guy. Love the way that pitches. That one really bothered me. I will be honest, for a couple factors that I don't think make sense, and I'm upset with myself why it bothers me so much. But for whatever reason, it really bothers me. I think at the very least, baseball should crack down on it immediately. Of like, I don't like during the inning check.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's one thing you're walking on, like in between it, you got done with the inning. Listen, I don't know how you police it, but in any where I give up like 4 runs, I'm not trying to come off the mound and you check me for substances. So I don't know how but at least then I'm not, the idea that they checked him like in between inning, and then like, I think it was like the next inning or so, then he got checked after he struck a guy out, like during the inning.
Yeah.
That shit would piss me off. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the fact that Joe Girardi asked for it pissed me off. Like, there's something about being like an old school guy who played in the league for a long time, like being the one that's like, we're cracking down on this. It's like, you're a catcher in the big league. Come on, man.
Right.
Stop. Yeah. Like, you play with Clemens and Pettit and all these guys. Like,
well, it's like, no, but it's no. Okay, so like, for me, the issue becomes like, all right, at what point, like, how much do we allow a manager to just kind of like fuck with a pitcher's rhythm?
Right.
In the name of like if he thinks he has something or not, just like, hey, he's in a rhythm. Can you guys stop the game and go pat him down real quick? We got a big at bat coming up. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, not that Scherzer's an absolute animal, and like that's not gonna. I wouldn't expect something like that to slow him down. But just, and that's what it kind of looked like to me with Girardi. It was just like, yeah, maybe he's got something, maybe he doesn't, but like, let's slow him down a bit. Let's see if we can rattle his cage.
Especially because it was like the 3rd time I think that game he had been checked. Yeah. It was just like, it bothered me. I was disappointed that would even be an issue. Like, I would think baseball would be like, no, we're not gonna. It's not just whenever the manager asks us to now go out there, we're just gonna go out there type of thing. And like, I don't know. I'd love to see like that John Boy guy. I know he like breaks it down and whatnot.
He did one for that, I think.
Okay, I'll have to watch, because he does a good job of like reading their lips and like telling you what he's saying. Yeah. So I don't know what they were saying, but the way I saw the videos was like the demeanor of the umpires also bothered me. Like they were like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
You could take control of this game. You could when he comes out there, be like, no, Joe, we already get back to we're playing the game. Like we'll take care of it.
Right.
We have our protocol. It's not just like he asked us to come out here, so we're out here. It's like I don't know. I just that it just kind of. But it seemed like every video I saw of the pitcher was like they would come out and check him. They would just start undressing.
Yeah.
Like I know Romo. I saw other guys do it. Scherzer kind of started. He started undoing his belt, and the umpire was like, whoa. It's like, what do you want me to get naked?
And I like because it's like. In that situation, I'm like, dude, stay away from me. Like, I think that was the Romo thing. It was like, you're not gonna walk up here and like get in my personal space and look at my belt. Like, I'm just gonna throw my belt on the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He took his hat off and put it on the ground, glove on, pick it up off the ground, belt on the ground. You can look at whatever you want, just don't get in my face.
I think the idea was more like they were trying to make them look stupid. Like they're trying to make they're trying to make right. So I think part of it might have been they didn't want them getting close to them. I think the majority.
No, but that's when I'm saying I don't mean like they have a phobia of people in their space, but just this is bullshit. I'm gonna make you look stupid doing this.
They want people when they watch this to be like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. That's I think
exactly
that's kind of what they're going for, and it is ridiculous. I think it's funny because you could argue that this was part of David Washington's idea, that he is the founder of this type of thing. I know you were a little bit different of them applying, the right amount of substances. But I'm saying it's the type of idea you were talking about, like a boxing ref of checking and applying substances. So I will give you credit. You've been saying this for a long time. So you could argue that you're the creator of this idea. I will see now after watching a few videos of it, I don't like it.
No, I will say when I kind of pointed out that is more of this is kind of what it would look like.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna stop guys from try to stop guys from using substances, it's gonna look silly.
Right.
You're not gonna be able to do so in a natural looking way.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch. It's fun to see play out. I'm enjoying it.
I think Scherzer was pitching well. So, but I will be interested the inning, or maybe they won't check after a bad inning, but an inning where a guy struggles and as he's coming off, because normally, at least for me, and I think a lot of guys, but maybe for me, is
you know what?
Before I get to the dugout, I am still red hot. So you intercepting me before I get there, I could see that being problematic.
What about a time where a guy is giving the guy an earful, right? Didn't like the zone that inning. Wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a call. Maybe there was a safe out call that cost him a base runner that ended up scoring. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great point.
And then they go to check that guy, right? Before they cross the line,
Yeah,
you can see some ejections off of it.
Because I've had it at a much even smaller scale where you're upset with the umpire for something, and let's say he trying to think of an example. Let's say he just wants you to change the ball or whatnot. Yeah. It's hey, pick, new ball. It's them talking to you in any capacity off of you're already upset with them. It can be combustible. So yeah, definitely. They feel like they got fucked on a couple calls, and then they're walking off. And they're motherfucking you in their head, and they're pissed. And you're actually, wait, come here, let me check you for substances.
Yeah. We had
that could be a problem.
We had a fun ejection. Holmberg, I think I've dropped his name to you a couple times. I don't think you remember him, but you would love him. He was in Somerset, big lefty, crafty as hell.
I don't like all big lefties, but
you gotta like all big lefties.
I don't.
Anyway, but he had one where it was one of those where I think he was facing his last hitter. It was at the end of the inning. There was a guy warming up, and guy got an RBI single. So homie has to back up home, and before the play was over, he was out of the game.
Yeah.
Where it's just just being in a close enough proximity at the right time.
Yeah.
You can just a pitcher will get tossed.
Those are funny when it happens while the play is going on. I remember one when I was in Lowe. We had a guy, and we were playing in Augusta, Georgia, and he was from that area. So he had like all of his family in town, and he was pitching really well, and like he got in this one inning where he got into trouble. Like in the end, you could tell, like it was one of those where if he can get out of this, it's a good outing, and if a couple more runs score, it's now a bad outing. And like do a 2-2 pitch. Like right there, could have gone either way, got balled, and then it was like bases loaded. The next guy hits like a double or triple down the line, and like the second he hit it, he just started like yelling at the umpire, and like while the runners are like running, the umpire's like, "You're out of here." It's like we're still set up for the cutoff, like we're still like everything is just like you're gone. I don't know. It was just funny, yeah. It was like he wasn't even backing up. I want to say like he didn't even back up. He was just like yelling right at the umpire, and it was just like the plays going on. There was like a play at the plate. The umpire was like still talking to the pitcher, like get the fuck out of here.
What was the one? The one in Southern Maryland. Where the guy, the guy was out. They called him safe at first, and like. It's like, safe, suck my dick. You're out of here.
So, a little bit of context to the story. This guy, it's probably, the 5th or 6th inning? This guy has a no-hitter
cruising.
going. No-hitter. He had a no-hitter going. Cruising. Yeah, dominated. No-hitter going.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it was because he lost a no-hitter on that.
Well, I don't know the no-hitter, but I'm just saying, like, he had a no-hitter going. And yeah, the second the guy goes safe, he just goes, suck my dick. The guy, it was like the way through him out was like, you're out of here. Like, you can't say that to me. And then the best part of it was they overturned the call.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The manager,
which you had the point.
The manager then comes out, argues the call. The umpires get together, which this is ridiculous that the first base umpire can be overruled on a play at first by another umpire, but they overruled it, so they end up throwing out the manager, but then overturn the call.
Yeah,
that didn't make any sense to me.
And you had said that, and I guess this isn't a thing now, at least not in the big leagues, because you have like replays,
right?
Which you can argue is a huge value of a replay. Is guys aren't going to get tossed over these out safe calls anymore,
right?
But like. Yeah, like the idea that like if you get tossed arguing a call that then gets proven to be wrong,
right? Like
you should be let back in the game.
I feel that way about anything, about any type of, whether it be basketball with like replay, like anytime you're like arguing with the ref or the umpire, and then they throw you out because I know they would say it's the way you were talking to me, the way you were arguing. But I'm like, if you would obviously, I was right.
That was gonna be my point.
But I would say if you would just gotten it right the first time, this never would have happened. And then you obviously corrected it, so I shouldn't even had to be doing this if you would have just gotten it right the first time. And now since you've corrected the problem,
I had a poor.
Yeah, like
you can't hold me accountable to my reaction if my reaction was based on your error.
Right. To which you've now corrected. To which you've since corrected. Yeah, I
can't be held accountable for telling you to suck my dick.
Right. I could also see the umpire.
I only did that.
Can't, you're right. I could also see the umpire being like, "Yeah, but we can't let you keep playing after you told me to suck your dick in front of 20 people." That everyone heard. It's a silent stadium. Like,
yeah, they didn't have time to cut the music on or anything. Like everybody heard that. Like,
right.
Yeah, you can't just be out here.
Right. I always love those stadiums when a guy's getting thrown out and they don't realize, like, they're supposed to put the music on, and you just hear every word he says. And then, like, as he's done and walking away, they like put the music on. And it's like, a little late, guys.
Yeah, all these kids know all these words now.
Yeah. Oh man, that was funny. On that story,
how many?
I was gonna say on that story, that's a good place to cut it.
You want to call it after that? I like that.
That's a good place to end it. Giving the people some stories of our time, seeing some guys lose their cool. I've never been ejected.
You've never been ejected.
Never been ejected. I obviously get very into it and very passionate, and sometimes we'll do things and say things, you know, in the heat of moment. But I'm pretty good at anytime it's like, okay, that's enough, or like, hey, like one more and you're gone, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I've never been like, if I'm talking to the umpires, like I don't do a lot of like arguing.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever really saw much of a point. Like I'll usually have like a one or two liner if I really don't like something, and then walk away.
Right. Yeah, I think that's kind
Both
of
times.
It's like,
Both times I've been ejected.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say both times I've been ejected were for like shit that I should not have been ejected for.
Right. You did.
Like confirmed. Like I had one fine that I didn't have to pay.
Right.
Because of that.
I remember you've told the story of both of them, and yeah, they were pretty weak for being
Terrible.
rejected. Because I'm the same way. Like I want you to know how I feel. I need to get my feelings out there. But my thing is ultimately it's the same thing I deal now with like coaching and whatnot. It's like ultimately they don't change their minds. Like you're not really changing anything. I think that's why I think if I was a manager, I'd probably get thrown out. Not all the time, but there's a couple times where it's just like you have to get thrown out. You got to stick up for your guys. You got to, there's a moment. I remember there was a time when we were in Long Island. We had Kevin Byes as our manager, who great guy, but did not like to argue much. And there was one where it was like, I can't remember the exact situation, but basically we had, I think, had hit a home run to like win it that they were taking away of some sort. And he said he didn't even argue. He was just like, well, then you have to throw me out. If you're going to overturn the call, you have to throw me out. I can't stay in the game if you're going to, screw us over like that. He didn't even like cuss at him and whatnot. He's like, and the guy was like, really? He's like, yeah, just throw me out right now because I can't let everyone here see that I'm still a part of this type of thing. Because sometimes you just have to get thrown out.
I think that's ultimately the stance a player should take, or a player, manager, coach should take for getting thrown out, is essentially like, whether or not I like you as a person, I am not going to be a part of this anymore.
Right.
If this is the way you interpret this event.
Right. And I would argue balls and strikes, disagreeing over them, does not warrant that. So like getting upset with that, like I think that's where I start. Like, I want you to know I'm wrong, but if they go, I'm not willing to. I guess I'm not willing to get thrown out over balls and strikes. Right. It's got to be something where it's just like, dude, this is so bad. Basically, I won't go into that. Actually, I was going to tell a story from the high school game where the umpire just awarded the guy like second base.
So I was saying like, no, because you had a great point of that, where it's like, it's not even about, I can't be a part of this.
Yeah.
If when this happens.
All right, it's not going to make sense unless I give the story. So I'll give the story. Me and David are coaching this team, high school team, and there's a point in the game, guy on first, nobody out, and a guy hits a line drive to third. We're on defense. Our team's on defense. So the hitter hits a line drive to third. He kind of catches it, but like somehow either he dropped
it. He legitimately dropped it.
I couldn't remember if he caught it and it was on the transfer or what, but somehow the ball kind of ends up on the ground in a very kind of confusing way. And the umpire was late to signal whether it was a catch and transfer or it was no catch. So then the runner on first was kind of caught in the middle. We throw it to second, get the double play. And then the other team's manager was like, hey, you didn't signal. Oh, because that's what it was. He ended up calling it a catch, right? He ended up calling it a catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called it a catch. And so then their manager was like, well, our runner didn't know what to do because you didn't signal anything. And I've stated I agree with their manager. It should not have been a double play because the umpire screwed up and he didn't signal what it was.
Yeah.
Somehow, after that conversation, the umpire awarded the guy that was on first second base. And his reasoning was, because I said, well, if it was a line drive, so then he would just go back to the base that he stayed at, right? Like he would just go back to first. And he goes, well, no, because it's a live ball. I go, I know, but you said he caught it, and then you killed it to like talk about. And he said, well, we gave him the benefit of the doubt that he tagged up. That's what he said.
Yeah.
On a line drive to third, they said they gave, after he killed it right afterwards, they said they gave the benefit of the doubt that he had tagged up.
After we dropped the ball, threw it to second, and then threw it to first.
Right.
And he was still like in between first and second.
Right. With his hands up, not knowing what was going on, they said, no, you get second base because
Yeah.
we screwed up. And yes, if I was the manager of that team, because I wasn't, but if I was, and it wasn't a high school game, but if it was like a real, not that would ever happen in a real game, because any umpire that knew what the fuck they were doing would never do that. But yeah, that type of situation, I'm like, yeah, you gotta throw me out.
You'd be surprised with what some professional umpires come up with.
That's the worst
when the game speeds up on them.
That's the worst I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. I'm just saying, like, when the game speeds up, it's
right.
wild to see. It's so wild to see. Just like what a fully grown man with a presumably healthy and all of his sense about him can come up with when things just move a little too fast.
Right. That's
It's
a good
just
point. I remember I had one
playing and umpiring and coaching. It just when it speeds up on you, it's crazy.
That's true. I had one on the manager side when I was in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was like first inning. I got called for a balk. I didn't think I balked. I rarely ever balked in my life, but I got called for a balk, and the manager came out like hot and basically pulled like, well then if this is it, then you got to throw me out of here or whatnot. And I remember being like, it's the first inning. Like, chill, dude. Like, it was just like a guy was going to second base now, like, with like 2 outs. Yeah. And he, like, went into this whole thing about, like, well, then he can't be a part of this, and you had to throw him out. And I remember being like, that was too much, And I understood what he was trying to do. He was trying to have, like, his players back, But I was like, guy.
The other one I've had.
It wasn't that serious.
I've also had a manager that, like, yelled to the umpire that, like, he's just trying to have his players back.
Yeah. Like,
after he got tossed, and I remember being like, well, now we don't really feel like you have our back. Like, as much. Like
the art of knowing how and when to, like, argue with the umpire, I think is a huge part of.
Dude, we had a guy for Kane County. I don't know if he was the hitting coach or which coach he was, but it was a really, really good one where, there was an out safe call. They called the guy safe. They called our guy safe at first, and I think that would have ended the inning. Then later, like, that guy, maybe somebody else scored, and their first baseman was like going at it with the first base umpire, and like the guy like ran from like in their dugout, like ran and like yelled at the umpire, like jumped out on the field and got tossed before the first baseman got tossed. And like our first base coach was like that guy, like he was definitely on his way out. And legitimately like kept him in the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's a real art like that. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, for managers and coaches to do that.
That is a great point. The coach that realizes they are way more expendable than obviously the people playing type of thing.
Right.
That's a great point. All right.
Wow.
Well, on that note,
woof.
Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe, follow along, like, comment, all that stuff. We appreciate all the support. Obviously, hope my co-host Davey can get back on the field here shortly, so he doesn't have to live that starting pitcher life.
Yeah, not made for it.
Well, on your downtime, if you want, you can listen to the podcast in the dugout.
Yeah.
It's the perfect podcast for just chilling, trying to kill time. I hope that's the takeaway.
If a team was allowed to like play a podcast like through a speaker for the dugout, right? It would be Riding the Bus podcast with Black Lightning and La Flama Blanca.
Absolutely. All right, appreciate you.
Thank you for listening. Till next time.